transcription. Recording and transcription. Wow, look at that. Okay then. Hello everyone and welcome to Ecosoc Freshers. It'd be nice to see a few new faces around this place. So I'm Seb Thompson. I'm president this year. So I'm assuming you guys will see quite a lot of us. So I thought I'd start this by just showing off our committee. A few of them are here right now. We've got Elliot, Madeline, and Emily here right now. So you can see, you might recognize a few of us from the stall today. Emily was on BSOCs, if you went and talked to them. But yeah, let's get into it. So I'll just show off the freshers timetable for those of you that came today but didn't get a chance to have a look at it. This is where we're at. Where are we? Okay, here we are right now. Tomorrow morning we've got moth trapping. We've got a campus walk for you guys to learn the place tomorrow, and an online art workshop in the evening. And then Thursday we've got mammal trapping in the morning. We're at the Freshers Fair again, camera trapping, and a pub night, and so on. You can kind of read it. It'll be on our Facebook page tonight. But this is what you guys probably hadn't seen. The second week, a lot of the same, but highlights being bat walks, the big rock pooling on the Wednesday, beach barbecue with Marine Watch, annual freshers quiz, which is nice. So yeah, let's get started. So generally, I'm just a person with an interest about spiders. I'm no big expert or authority on half of this. This is just out of my passion that I've decided to do this talk. So, you know, I'm not infallible. I'm covering 30 spiders in 6 different groups, and there are over 650 species of spider in significantly more than 6 groups. So this is a big generalization, but this is kind of more of a sort of field guide of you guys to learn sort of what things would be when you're kicking around, because it's helped me quite a lot. The thing with spiders is that a lot of species are very similar, and the only way that you can really tell them apart is by killing them and sticking them under a microscope and having a look at their genitalia, because in insects and a lot of invertebrates, that's really the only thing that changes between species, which makes it very difficult. So there you go. This is the sexual organs of a spider. You can see up here, this is the palps of a male, and this is I think it's called the epigene on a female. You can see it kind of looks like the Pringles man, but that's kind of under the abdomen. Yeah, and again, some of these groups that I've covered are sort of taxonomically all over the place, where there's little bits and bobs coming in from all over the shop. And again, I just want to drop in, I know a lot of people are scared of spiders, but really in the UK, none are dangerous unless you're being jumped on from a pack of bananas or something. There are only a few that actually have a bite strong enough to break through the skin, and that's like the woodlouse spider, a few of the cellar spiders, and a few of the big ones. But they really have some big teeth, and you'll know which ones when you see them. So you say that the worst spider bite that you can get is like a bee sting. So really, you're all good. And you can see these are the 2 of the ones that can bite you. I think that's some pretty significant warning there. But yeah, I'll start again. I'll give a little bit of an anatomy breakdown of a spider. So as with insects, would have like 3 sections to the body, with the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The spiders have their head and their thorax fused together to make a cephalothorax, or like brain body, or whatever that means. But that's usually just called a prosoma. And then the abdomen is called the epistoma, but everybody just calls it the abdomen because it sounds way better. The spider has 8 legs, as you'd expect, but they have these little pedipalps at the front, which are kind of like foot teeth almost. They're like, imagine having like a small pair of fingers by your mouth that just shove stuff into your mouth. And then the chelicerae, which are the kind of body of the fangs. The spinnerets at the back help to twiddle the web around. And then anywhere from 6 to 8 eyes. So in order to detect spiders, again, you kind of need a microscope, but there is a bit of a generalization in spiders because they often show very high levels of sexual dimorphism. So the female is often way, way bigger than the males, with the females often being the huge charismatic characters and the males being tiny, useless things like they are in most of the animal kingdom. So this is a male false widow, and that's the female false widow. So, you know, that's just kind of how it be in nature. So the pedipalps are another way of telling male from female. So you can see here on these crab spiders that the females have like just small things, but because the males, these things at the front here are basically the male sexual organs, the males will often have these big pedipalps at the front, which kind of look like boxing gloves taped to their face. So yeah, the first group that I'm going to get into is the orb weavers. So an orb weavers spin these webs. You'll see them. These are probably the webs that you're most familiar with. The kind of they catch flying insects. They're sort of between two trees or whatever. The spiders will make this web every night. They'll eat the whole thing like at the end of the day, remake the whole thing each day for most of them at least, just so it keeps it stick. But the females of orb weavers will often have these big abdomens and a kind of smaller body. Something interesting about spider silk is that the way that it works is that it absorbs all this kinetic energy from like a fly hitting it, and it just converts it to heat really, really efficiently, rather than it just bouncing back like elastic. If you imagine like, so you're covered in Velcro and you run at a trampoline that's also covered in Velcro. If you hit the trampoline, the force of you hitting the trampoline and you bouncing back will often like rip the Velcro that you're attached to, right? If you go in, the push force of this elastic will actually rip you off it. So spiders have evolved basically to you hit it and then the thing comes back really slowly as the energy gets dissipated into heat, which is just a really efficient way. So that's what spiders use in biotech is a lot of the time. And then the spider in an orb web will hide either in the center or like off in the corner somewhere. First spider I wanted to cover, very familiar to probably most of you, the garden spider. This very distinct abdomen shape with like a cross on it, or like a mixture of cross with these big banded hairy legs. With the males, this is a male here in the middle. You can see the difference in the size of abdomen between male and female. Here the female's abdomen is gigantic compared to her prosoma, but here the male's is roughly the same size. You can see again these pedipalps that I was on about. They'll usually hang out straight in the middle of webs. Another one that I see quite often are the common orb weavers. They're actually quite small, a lot of the ones that I see of these, but again, they can get quite big. They again have these banded legs like the garden cross spider, but they're a bit paler, kind of more greeny. The colors can change a lot between all of these spiders. They can actually adapt their colors depending on where they're sitting as camouflage, which is quite cool. Abdomen is kind of a whitish brown, kind of greeny, as opposed to just straight brown like the garden cross spiders. And the sort of the back resembles I should have really flipped it around here, but it's either a shield. I like to think of it as like a six-pack and a big pair of pecs. This kind of looks like you're jacked and you've got a bra on. At least that's what works for me. Another pretty sick orb weaver is the four-spotted orb weaver. They're pretty charismatic and pretty easy to identify because of the just 4 big white spots. They can change the colors of them. They can come from anything from like brown to green to all of this, but they'll sit like low in vegetation, eating small stuff near the bottom of grass. Again, it's like I was saying, the color is very variable. And then the male, this is the male here. It kind of looks again like a kind of crap tiny version of it with a small abdomen. You can kind of looks like it's been deflated, like you kind of popped a balloon. This one I really love as well. It's the cave spider. They live in dark, damp places. You know, we find them in a cellar, caves, or whatever. And they'll make a really big orb web. And they eat a lot of stuff. They've been found to eat slugs, moths, use big beetles. Grey, brown, orange. They kind of look like a night mode version of the common orb weaver that I covered in the previous slide. Basically that, but just darker and more mysterious. And what they like to do is they like to stick their egg sacs to the roof of the cave that they're in. So it's another way you can spot them. Next up is the cucumber spider. You'll find these on leaves. The green is, of course, camouflage for them to hide and kind of mope around on leaves and catch stuff that's going to be zooming around there. They have these black spots kind of dotting their abdomen, that kind of makes them look like a kiwi almost, kind of like an olive, I guess. I always thought they kind of looked a bit like a grape or an olive stapled to the back of a spider. They have this nice red mark as well, which is how you can identify them. Again, there's a lot of these. I said at the beginning that wasp spiders, there's loads of different species of them, but you'll kind of, I doubt you'll come across that many. You'll find these on low vegetation. Again, they kind of eat small insects that are low down to the ground. They have these beautiful kind of aposematic warning displays on their abdomen. It's like, don't come to me or I'll eat you, much like a wasp, which hence wasp spider. And they have these cool banded legs. But you'll kind of, I feel like they're quite charismatic and easy to remember. But there are, again, a lot of species, and they all differ with some tiny aspect that you need a microscope for. The male, this is the male here. He's really boring and thin. He kind of only exists to have sex. He has these two little stripes on him down the middle. They kind of just sit around on the edge of loads of them just sit around on the edge of the web of the big female until she mates, and then as soon as she's like kind of soft and freshly emerged from her carapace, they'll all just descend on her and they'll mate. So the next group that I want to cover are the lace web weavers. They're kind of bigger and chunkier. They're sort of brown, low-level ones. So they make like this big zigzaggy, messy web. Like you'll find it in the corner of rooms, sort of in under stuff, sort of just in undergrowth. The web is kind of more like a bluey grey than the kind of nice clearness of it normally. They like to hide in corners, just like in cracks, stuff like that. And they'll basically retreat from that. They'll go and catch stuff that's kind of lying around. A lot of hunting, just sort of walking around on the ground, which is, you can see that they're built for that rather than the kind of spindly little wimpiness of the orb weavers. Something cool as well that I thought I'd mention is they do something called matrophagy, which is when the young spiders will actually eat their mother after they've grown up. So the first batch of the mother will lay a load of spiders, and then as soon as they've hatched, she'll lay a new batch of spiderlings. And then the first batch will eat her and then eat all of the eggs and all of the young of the next batch. Pretty metal way to go. So one of the bigger lace weavers is this one, the black lace weaver. Looks kind of dark and mysterious. He's or she's kind of glossy. They've got this kind of long, glossy prosoma. You can see, like, if you remember the orb weavers have like these tiny little thin ones, but these are long and kind of sort of can-shaped. They've got black legs, long black legs. You can see, look at the size of the legs is much chunkier. You can see that they're clearly walking around rather than just hiding. And they've got this nice brown pattern. It's sort of a black with a kind of wibbly grey bits on it. But you can tell. You want to figure out that they're a lace weaver first, just because of the shape. You look, okay, so this is a really big spider, like it's clearly walking around, and you can see the abdomen and the marks that it's got. And then another one, this is kind of, you can see again, it's sort of built in a similar way. And these have got like a glossy light carapace with a kind of brown and cream on it. These got banded legs as well, I think you can see. A lot of spiders have this thing called a cardiac mark. So, you know, of course, because they're not mammals, the heart is sort of somewhere around here. All of their organs just kind of slosh around in their abdomen. But the heart is somewhere down here, which is why this bit is called a cardiac mark. So they have a wedge-shaped one like that, surrounded by all this kind of pale grey. Yeah, and you'll find them, you know, little cracks, windows, stuff like that. It's the name. So the hackled web weaver is very small, but I think it looks quite pretty. So you can see this web here, like I was on about, the kind of zigzaggy, crazy nature of it. So like slow, dry vegetation, grass, stuff like that. Got these nice brown legs with this grey, fluffy looking abdomen with grey prosoma and this nice kind of brown marking down the middle. Next group up, I want to tackle the tangle web weavers, or kind of the comb-footed spiders, the cobweb spiders, as they're also known. So these tangle web weavers will build like these three-dimensional, very messy, they're actually called cobwebs, but that's different to the kind of old, crappy little cobwebs that you'll find in like the corners of rooms. It's actually a type of web. So these are like very messy, all over the place, kind of like almost tripwire-esque, to try and catch stuff that's just flying around. And you can see that the body plan of these is very much this sort of small body, and then like this weird, like weirdly shaped abdomen like that. This kind of globular, kind of teardrop shaped abdomen like that. And the males are tiny, like I said earlier, or if you saw that from the beginning. So into the false widows. This is a noble false widow. They are probably the most charismatic of all of the false widows. They've got this dark brown prosoma here with these lighter, again, very thick legs, because you can see that they're sort of moving around a little bit more, even though these guys will chill in webs. Their abdomen is kind of light. It's kind of green through to grey almost, but they have these very distinctive sort of shapes. They look like sort of a pair of lungs, and then just some additional marking. But this top bit looks like lungs, and they've got like another two just kind of circles lower down with some kind of wibbly bits. But as long as you can see these two marks at the top, I'd be pretty happy to call it a false widow. But the problem is that sometimes the noble false widows have no markings on them at all. And sometimes the rabbit hutch spiders have no markings on them at all, and the other type of false widow has no markings on it ever. So they're all like identical. Sometimes they just, if the noble false widow doesn't have that mark and the rabbit hutch spider doesn't have this kind of U-shaped bit to it, there's literally, you have to look them under the microscope. So you just got to get lucky. So again, the rabbit hutch spiders are very similar. But they have this kind of shiny black carapace and this white banding going on like this, with this stripes, yeah. But sometimes, again, they don't have them, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. Another lovely one that we've got is the candy stripe spider, and you'll find these in 3 different kind of forms, even though they're all the same species. You've got a boring green form, and a nice kind of pink banded one like this. But yeah, they're kind of greeny with a couple stripes on their abdomen. You can see that we've got like a couple black stripes here, kind of greeniness with this big white green abdomen, and that can have either two red stripes, or it can have just one big red stripe, or none at all. But if it's got none at all, really the only way you can tell it is from this little black bit on its tibia here. But you know, in the field there's so many small green spiders, it's kind of impossible. But yeah, you can see that it's kind of like this sort of boring, inoffensive little green thing. And next up are the funnel weavers, which most of you will know as the house spiders. These make like a big sheet. They make like a sheet web, with it kind of being like it's a big funnel web. It's kind of got this big retreat in a funnel in the corner with like this big kind of flat bit coming out. You can see here. So this is the kind of classic house spider web. We've got like a little retreat here, and then this kind of big tangly sticky sheet that sticks out. Something lands on the sheet, spider zips out, eats it, comes back. The house spiders, they changed the taxonomy a few years ago, and I never quite got it again. But there used to be all just like one species, and then they decided there were these other 3 species, and then they changed them all into a different genus, and it's just a fact. But this is what I'm calling it as. This is the domestic house spider. They're not the biggest house spider, but they're probably the ones that you've seen the most of. They have these nice little banded legs. It's quite hard to see from these photos, but again, it's just kind of light and dark brown with this kind of grey to grey-brown carapace and abdomen. What's important is this kind of U-shaped bit here. It's unbroken and it's full kind of dark, and you've got these kind of chevron-y patterns going here up on his abdomen there, or her abdomen. And then this is the giant house spider. As you can see why it's important that I mentioned the sort of bits here, because you can see that these have a broken, they don't have this U shape that the normal house spiders do. They've kind of got this broken shape here with a similar chevron pattern, but that kind of looks inverted almost. Again, very variable, and there are actually 3 species that you can't tell apart without a microscope, but you can kind of get that it's the giant house spider from that. It's kind of like more like a tiger kind of spots, or not a spider, whatever, they're jaguar. Next group up are the wolf spiders, another big charismatic group. They have a very specific eye configuration because they're hunting stuff. You know, predators with eyes at the front. They've got these 2 big eyes so that they can spot things as they run after them. So you can see these 2 big eyes here, you know, 4 small ones and 2 on the top. But they kind of just nomadic, walk around, don't really build a web, and they'll hunt any number of small little beasties. The females actually take very good care of their young. There's no getting eaten by them with wolf spiders. They kind of carry their little egg sacs around with them everywhere and then carry their spiders on their back, which I think is quite cute. First wolf spider up is the fox spider. They're pretty big and chunky. I think they're one of the bigger ones that we've got. And they've got this kind of deep dark carapace with this pale band going down the middle with this other triangle here. So we've got this wedge-shaped cardiac mark, kind of pale band in the middle with this kind of browny bit on the edge, with the band running the whole way down. And this is kind of counter to the rustic wolf spider, which kind of looks like if you put the fox spider through a washing machine a few too many times. It's kind of similar coloring, just a little bit darker and duller, but it doesn't have this big band that goes all the way down. It's just only got a little one, and it's much lighter colors usually, but it's kind of hard to see. It's also bigger. I thought the fox spider was bigger, but I'm wrong. Another cool type, not to be confused with the raft spiders, are the pirate wolf spider. And these are kind of reddy, kind of chestnutty brown with white stripes going down their side like this. They've got white stripes on the edge of the prosoma and white stripes on the edge of the abdomen with these little white specks going mostly down. Kind of browny on the outside, green band down the middle, and that kind of same wolf spider kind of shape on the prosoma there. And these guys will just walk on water. They'll make little nests in moss near water, and they'll kind of dart out and grab little insects, much similar to a raft spider, but I don't think they can go underwater. Yeah. And then moving on to the ground and hunting spiders. So they have another fairly distinct kind of body shape, where they look like they're kind of leaning forward, they're kind of these big running legs and small abdomens. And again, there's a lot of groups. It's just kind of like convergent evolution to kind of find one way of running around. They could take out some pretty big spiders. I showed them one of them eating a house spider on the previous slide. These guys, again, don't really build webs. They just run around. And they use very strong silk to immobilize prey. I kind of like that. It's sort of, it reminds me of like being a gladiator and sort of hooking your rope around your opponent and to kind of bring them down, or like an AT-AT in Star Wars. But, you know, so they can really take out some bigger stuff. starting off with a nursery web spider. And these guys hold their legs in a really weird way, which is quite distinctive. They're kind of like a star. They hold their front two legs together like that, and then they kind of branch out towards the bottom. These guys are usually kind of grey, and they have a really nicely shaped abdomen, which I think is quite distinctive. You can see it kind of like comes out in like a triangle with these nice little chevrons on them, which they don't always have because spiders like to be hard to spot. Sometimes they've just got this big band, sometimes they've got other stuff. But I like the form. I think is quite easy to get usually with these like little white bands down the side. Yeah, and again, the long legs. They carry their eggs under their body, which seems like not my first choice of a place to hold eggs. It looks really, really stupid. So, you know, another one. I used to get these all in my room back home, but this is a mouse spider. You can see that they're kind of furry and shiny, which is where they're getting their name from. They've got kind of like a browny, thick browny body with these big chunky legs and this kind of long, fluffy, brown to black fluffy little abdomen with these little sticky out spinnerets. And these will just wander around your walls. I used to have one back home that I used to watch her on the walls catching mosquitoes. Next up are the six-eyed spiders. Again, sort of a bit of a funky group. Some build webs, some don't. It's kind of all over the place. This one, the woodlouse spider, I remember I found one of these when I was younger, and I looked at it once, and I was like, nah, I'm not going anywhere near that. They look like a tick. They have this big dark red hair carapace with these giant chelicerae. They eat wood lice. They're really scary looking. Their bite is like a bee sting. Not a vibe. Yes, but they kind of got this kind of ricey looking tick abdomen with this big red head. I think there's two species, but they look exactly the same. Another one of these, the cellar spiders. I've got these all over my room at uni now. They're kind of, I've got this video. They've got these long spindly legs with this nice long abdomen. You find them dark, damp places. I had them in my last house. They were in like my washing machines, like container here. They're down the side of my cupboard. They're just kind of hiding. But they've got this long abdomen with little brown marks on it, brown knees, very long and thin and spindly. If I can just show this video, actually. Do you guys can you guys see this? Can someone just let me know you can see this?
We can't see it.
No, you can't see it.
We can just see the...
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, wait, it's changed. We can see it now.
You see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally...
So this is what happens if you touch them. They go crazy like this. If you ever want to poke one, they just spin the web like some sort of... I don't really know what it's supposed to achieve. I think it's just supposed to confuse you. But you just poke them and they wriggle like an idiot. I guess that's an ID feature. But because these guys are always found in such dark and dingy places, they're very prone to getting like fungal infections. And what that can do is basically turn them into these big walking spore factories called zombie spiders, which is very freaky and cool. This is quite a rare one that we get. You see a load of big Photoshop pictures of it with like these big green fangs, but they're not really that green. People just like boosting vibrancy to make it look scary. They've got like this black body with a grey abdomen. They've got these fairly indistinct markings with these kind of light brown patches. But really, the way that you tell these guys is they've got these green fangs that go straight down the front of their face like that, little hooky. There's kind of two different ways that spiders will hold their fangs. So you've got some like this, and then some sort of that go backwards. Imagine that's going backwards. It's really hard to show the perspective, but that's kind of, these are facing backwards and these are facing towards each other. But these have those facing like that, big green long mouth parts, and they'll stick their front three layers of legs out of the hole, hold the two at the back, they make a very distinctive web. I think they're the only type of spider that makes this kind of web in this country. It's basically like a little hole with this little surrounding of web, and then these trip wires that go out here. So what's happening here is something small will come along, trip one of these wires, get stuck in it, he'll come along, chomp them, come back into the retreat. It's a very primitive, old-style web that stuff has kind of evolved from now, but it's pretty interesting. And this is a snake's back spider. It's called a snake's back because it looks like an adder. If any of you've seen an adder, they've kind of got these zigzaggy patterns on them. And this is kind of, I guess, if you guys, it's kind of got a similar pattern. You can see this kind of long body, banded legs, and this kind of sticky out pattern here. Next group up, we've got the jumping spiders, which are another really, really distinctive and charismatic group of spiders. They've got, they're very pretty. They have these big eyes that kind of poke forwards. I'm not wearing my spider shirt right now, but we actually sell a shirt that featuring artwork that my mum painted for me of these jumping spiders on it that I wear quite a lot. So yeah, would recommend buying. But yeah, they have this sort of, it looks like they've got these two eyes at the front with like this other pair here. So they kind of look the most human-like, which is why they're kind of the cutest ones, because they sort of look like something our brain is used to seeing rather than all these weird eyes and legs. So you can see they've got like these big eyes at the front. They're quite cute. And those big eyes are so that they can pinpoint stuff that's kind of moving around, because they actually have to physically jump onto their prey. And they're usually absolutely tiny. A lot of them are smaller than the size of your fingernail. Because they do so much jumping, they actually leave a trail as they go, just in case they accidentally just bin it like off a wall or something. They can climb back up. There's a little slow-mo of one jumping. The legs stick out the front, they jump backwards. And again, they have this big sexual dimorphism where the males have to kind of present for these for the larger females, and like something like the peacock spider. I know a few of them in this country have to do their display where they wiggle their legs around, but it gets kind of really funky with some of like the Australian peacock spiders and stuff that have these big frills that come out of their back. But you can see that this is just one display. So just a kind of classic jumping spider shape is the zebra spider, sort of with this black carapace with these kind of zebra stripes, black and white mottled legs with this kind of stripy abdomen with a couple of spots on their prosoma here. These spots are variable, by the way. Another type is the downy jumper. It kind of looks like it's wearing a jumper, which I guess is why they called it that. I think the name might be a pun, but that's just what I want it to be. They're sort of very furry, mottled, sort of browny to grey, but they have these sort of big two big white spots on their abdomen. They have more. Look, if you can see here, they've got more spots, but they have these two nice big ones that you can usually tell them apart. So if it looks like it's wearing a jumper and it's got two spots, it's a downy jumper. This is another one, Euphrys frontalis. I think it's pronounced like that. I couldn't actually find the common name for this one, but I had to put it in here because I think it's really cute. There's a difference in sexes in the way they look. The male looks like he's wearing like goggles. He's got these nice little orange rings around his eyes and with little white bands on his pedipalps. So he kind of looks like he's got a mustache. He's kind of in disguise, which I thought was really lovely. With this sort of chevron-y little abdomen that they've got. And the females have kind of this big orange sort of almost like big cat looking abdomen. Oh, look, here's one looking cute with a dead insect. Yeah, she also looks like she's wearing a flat cap, just like she's got like a little grey patch on the front of her head, little farmer girl. But yeah, the black spots on the abdomen and the sunglasses in the males are pretty distinctive. So now going from the lovely charismatic jumping spiders, we go straight to the crab spiders, which look like some sort of like early 1900s diving suit. These guys don't build webs. They're really weird. They're kind of gross looking, but we love them for it. Their front two sets of legs are way longer than their back, which is why they're called crab spiders, because they're kind of they grab stuff with their front two sets of legs. So you can see down here, two little legs at the back with these two long ass ones at front. So you can see they kind of fold up. And these guys will basically, they're ambush hunters. So that's what they do, is they're lying in wait and then they're coming out and snapping stuff with their front legs. Here's one with a moth, just to piss off Elliot. Oh, apparently they can, sorry, it's been a little while since I've looked at this, but they can walk sideways as well, so they're kind of very crabby. And they're very well camouflaged to ambush their prey. Something cool about these guys, yeah, is that they can change their color to match their surroundings. So if you take like this one down here, the flower crab spider, if you take her and you put her on a white flower, she'll turn white after a few weeks. And if you take her and you put her on a yellow one, she'll turn yellow, green. They change color over time. Crabs do that as well, by the way, which is kind of cool. So this being the common crab spider, there are a lot of similar ones to this. A lot of species look exactly like this, but you can see the kind of crab spidery, long legs, but they've got like this sort of wide little abdomen with like these kind of triangular bits on it, with these, with these two big triangular bits here with some sort of more circular bits at the back. It kind of looks sort of like jagged and sharp. But yeah, the male is smaller and darker. This is a male here. He's much smaller, but you can't really see. And there's lots of stuff that looks like it, but they have these nice triangular marks on their carapace here, which I forgot to mention. So yeah, triangular marks and these kind of sharp points here. The big giveaways for this one. Yes. Also something that I've mentioned is the males actually wrap the female in silk before mating, which, I mean, fair game. So the green crab spider, these guys kind of look like a pistachio has been stapled to a spider if the cucumber one was a grape. These guys, green carapace and legs, they could sometimes have, it almost look like kind of, like when you're skating and you've got like these sort of knee pads on, the kind of brown colored knees sometimes. And the abdomen can be yellow to green to white. The male is more brown colored, but they often have these sort of kind of this brown mark here. And then one of my personal favorites is the flower spider. These guys will chill on flowers. They'll change color depending on what flower they're on. The females have these large white abdomens with, or I say white, but they can be green, yellow, depending on the flower. Like I said, they change. The flanks of their abdomen are kind of pink, and they can be red as well. Sometimes they don't have any markings, but they've got like these dents on their abdomen here, kind of like the cucumber spider familiar. The males are kind of small and pointless. You can look, there's a male on a female here. It's kind of more stripy, kind of looks more like the other crab spider from earlier. And you can see these kind of two dark stripes down the side, down him, prosoma there, plus 4 on the abdomen. The last group that I wanted to touch was the sheet or hammock weavers. These are the money spiders, basically. There are like, I think I mentioned it, there's like 200 something species of them. They're all tiny and black and they all look identical. Personally, it's not worth it for me. But if you're into killing spiders and looking at them under a microscope, why not look at a bunch of identical spiders? What these guys do is they build a kind of hammock web. So you'll see them at morning in the dew. They build these flat webs over grass. They kind of, I guess they can look like a house spider web if you kind of squint, but they're kind of like they're sort of flat webs. They can have these guy ropes over them to intercept flying insects, kind of like barrage balloons. If you know that, so they'll have like these, an insect will fly over, gets stuck and fall into that, and they'll usually chill under them. But yeah, that's all the spiders that I wanted to touch on. We'll do a quiz in a minute, but does anybody want to ask anything before we get into that?
I have one question, which is probably quite stupid, but I can't think of the answer outright.
There's no such thing as a stupid question.
And that, what differentiates the palps from being legs? Is it like an evolutionary kind of, they came from a different place?
I think that what constitutes as a leg is sort of, it's difficult because, like, what's a leg in some things is a claw in another, right? Like, if you think that there's a divergence, so the claws in a crab are effectively the same as the palps in a spider. Like, there's been a sort of evolutionary branch there, and it's sort of the legginess of it is, it's sort of so there's effectively 10 legs if you think about it, but they've become something else. But like when a limb becomes something else, it's kind of difficult. I don't really know, to be honest. It's not a stupid question.
You just look at it and go, that's a leg, that's not a leg.
Yeah, exactly. It's the big question that we should be asking is, when is a leg not a leg? When is a leg a hand? You know, our hands were once feet when you think about it. It's a rabbit hole, man. But yeah, anything else you guys want to know?
Do you know how the crab spiders change color, or how any of them change color?
Oh, we did a talk about this, didn't we? It was what's his name? Elliot, do you know? Martin Stevens. Yeah.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah, I think we recorded it. I'm not too sure, but it's cool. It's probably something to do with the pigment cells and them changing it. It's kind of weird because you think, like, how do you know what's above you and below you at any one time? It's sort of like how fish can camouflage, or like how an octopus knows what to change into. I don't really know, I'm sorry. But...
No worries.
Should we get on to the quiz? Okay, so slight audience participation. If you guys would just write in the chat what you think the answers are. So, round one. Whoops, sorry, I'm just figuring out how it works. What kind of spider has this eyes? Look at the eye configuration. What do we think this is? Yeah, so you think, what is this spider doing? Why would you have two big eyes at the front? So you're hunting something, ergo, you're moving. Yeah, it's a wolf spider. Well done. Next up, talking square carapace. We could see these big eyes at the front. Yeah, well done. Next up. Talking like weird diver bell eyes. Awesome. Yeah, crab spider. Well done. Okay, next up, webs. What kind of spider would make this kind of web? So we're looking, it's a very kind of 3D, big kind of messy web. So again, you've got to think, what would the use of this kind of web be? Just wait for a few of you to type in the chat, and then we'll move on. But yeah, two of you are right in the chat. It is a tangle web weaver, tangle web from something like a false widow. Something. So if you think of like actual like widow spiders, black widow spiders, they're these parts of their webs actually work like a tripwire. So the spider will sit up here and you've got all of these like little wires down here. Something comes along and hits it, and then it'll go ping, and it'll go all the way up and be suspended in the air for the I think it's either a redback or the similar family. Whoops. Oh yes, I blurred him out for his identity here, so you can't figure out what it is. Yeah, well, what kind of web is this? No, sheet webs are for money spiders. This is a funnel web, even though it does make a sheet, which is kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, last up. Again, I'll blur him out for his identity's sake, so you know Doc's the spider. So we've got this sort of messy, zigzaggy blue-gray web. Nah, the knot cob was the tangle web. Now this is the web of a lace weaver, a lace web. The actually, I've got to make sure I haven't covered it in the next one. No, I haven't. So the radial web that you're thinking of are, again, it's like the circle with these sort of big branches coming out of it. You can see that they've got a retreat here, but this is all just all over the place. And it's got a fly. Okay, abdomens. What spider is this? Do you remember? This is, I'll break it down. This is an orb weaver. Just wait for the last few of you to type. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are right. This is indeed a four-spotted orb weaver, as you can tell by the 4 spots. Okay, lovely. Next up. Yeah, nice quick round that one. Yeah, it's a flower spider. Well done, everyone. Next up. You're muted, Jonathan. Do you mean to be? I can see you mouthing a lot of words.
I am just trying to think.
So yeah, I'll let you guys in. It's a this one is a type of jumping spider. But yeah, it's a zebra spider. Evidenced by the fact it looks like a zebra. Okay. The lung spider doesn't cut it, Emily. Yeah. So I'm looking for it's a noble false widow. With its nice little lung markings. It's a bit of a throwback, this one. So this is a type of wolf spider. Yeah, it is indeed a pirate spider. Well done. Okay, I think this is the last one. But what have we got here?
All I'm thinking is six pack and bra now, and I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, well, it's annoying. It's just six-pack and bra, but you can't remember the name of it. It's a type of orb weaver. Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a difficult one to pin down because it's got a really generic name. Yes, it is indeed the common orb weaver. Well done, Emily. But yeah, that's me done. I've collected a few nice resources. The sources that I used to make this, as well as some other general ID guides that I've collected, we've collated them online to make an online ID guide. We used it last year, but we've got our own ID guides we can spy out now. I used NatureSpot and UK Safari for most of this, as well as would recommend the British Arachnological Society, and a couple books that I've got. Elliot, can you get that that Wild Guides book?
This one.
Just show off a few of these that I've collected. So yeah, look at that book there. Is kind of
Is it flipped? You can flip for me.
Yeah, but whatever. The Britain Spiders, a field guide. That one is pretty much the Bible at the moment. It's the most up-to-date one.
It's got so many different things in it.
Yeah, if you actually want to learn stuff about spider biology, this book by Raina F. Felix is basically the only textbook about spiders. But it's pretty good, if not slightly out of date. And then just this book, Spiders of the World of Natural History by Norman Platnick, that my mother bought me for Christmas. We got Nicole. Yeah. Thanks for coming, everybody. I hope to see you guys a lot this week and next week.
The guide has like a load of different like books in it as well.
Oh, I see.
Can you read those? Can you read them? Quite hard if you read it.
Yeah, they'll be tiny on the recording. It's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let me stop the screen share and we can have a chat for a little bit. Anybody got anything else to say? No more questions? Nothing people want to know?
I'm disappointed you didn't include purse whip spiders.
Yeah, but dude, there are so many. Like, this was already
Coolest
an hour, and this was
Coolest
30 of them. But yeah. If nobody has anything else to say, I'll end the recording.